Let me begin this video by telling a little story. It all started one late night where me and my friends were just VCing and sending each other gifts like any Discord friend group would. And then one of my friends sent this GIF. This GIF would lead to the creation of this video. My friend would send more and more and more of these kinds of GIFs, and the three of us decided, okay, we needed to sit down and actually figure out where these come from. Our first lead ended up being where all the GIFs came from, obviously. The Twitter account was simply named Snooey. We later found Snooey's Twitter account that had this tweet on it, and this was the point that I knew that, okay, this game has to be real. There's no way all this stuff was made for a game that doesn't even exist. Before finding Snooey's YouTube account, I had this sneaking suspicion that some of these characters looked weirdly like Toontown characters, and that's because I was freaking right. They are Toontown characters. It was just a suspicion I had that ended up being right. However, eventually, the leads ran dry. We had literally nothing left to look through. But then, my friend KMZ, or Night Metaz, I don't really know which one he likes being called more, he decided to take a shot in the dark and see if he could try to find Snooey's Discord account. And I went to bed after that, thinking that it'd probably take a couple days or a lot longer to find anything related to this game. But then, literally 2 hours later, right before I was about to go to sleep, I get pinged 5 times in the server telling me, hey, we found Snooey and the game is real. And thus, we have this video explaining the most hidden FNAF fan game, a game that most people would probably never see in their entire lives. This is Five Nights at Snooey's. Now, I'm pretty sure when looking at the footage on screen, one particular thought is going through your head right now. This is just FNAF 1 again, isn't it? Okay, yeah, but please stay, I promise. It gets more interesting, I promise. Like most FNAF 1 clones, you have 2 doors, one to your left and one to your right. But you also have a vent at the top of your office, which you can also close like a normal door. On the TV in front of you, there's also a clicker game, which you do need for one of this game's 7 endings. I'm not kidding, this is going to take a while to explain. When opening up the cameras, you might also notice that they don't take up any power usage. You will be very thankful for this later in the game. Trust me. One last thing to mention about this game's gameplay before talking about the characters is that on the cameras, there are these little batteries you can find that give you a bit of extra power. I wouldn't rely on them because they don't give you that much more power, but they definitely help during the later nights of this game. So when it comes to characters, nights 1 and 2 only have 2 characters each, these being Rude and Door. Rude starts in cam 9 and goes all the way down to your left door. When you see them in the blind spot, just shut the door and wait for the sound cue to open it again. Door is mostly the same, with the main differences being she goes to your right door and she's able to backtrack, unlike Rude, who just takes a straight path to your office. With how unpredictable she can be, Door is easily the character I struggled with the most during my playthrough of the game, as sometimes I wouldn't know if she were to double back or to actually bonk on the door. On night 3, you get introduced to 2 new characters, XP and Samuel. XP is kind of like the Foxy of this game, where she mostly spends time in the arcade camera until she loses. If you hear the losing sound again, she'll be in the vent blind spot and you just shut the vent and wait for her to bang on the vent. Interestingly enough, her sound cue is panned to the left instead of the center, which means she could trick you into thinking that Rude had left even though she was the one that left, considering both of their sound cues are the same upon them leaving. As for Samuel, he'll randomly pop in your office and ask you to find his box, which could spawn on literally any camera. I like that both the batteries and Samuel require you to look at all of the game's cameras instead of just a couple. Makes the gameplay more interesting than just sitting in the office and occasionally turning on the lights every once in a while. One last thing to note about Samuel is that on night 6 he requires you to find 2 boxes at once instead of just 1, which does impact the difficulty of night 6 a lot. The final new character who's introduced on night 4 is the ugly parasite, who appears on the clicker game. You just have to spam click him until he goes away, otherwise he kills you, but he takes a long time to kill you, so you can focus on other stuff first before dealing with him. Now, I wouldn't say this game is too difficult, at least not until night 5 and night 6.
Like, on my.
Oh boy, night 6 was a hassle with how much the characters attack you, the buff given to Samuel. There's just a lot going on. Here's my great reaction to beating night 6 if you're wondering how I reacted to that.
5 a.m.
Okay, he's halfway.
I'm gonna probably. This is probably.
I asked a question.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Gosh, if Night 6 is that hard, then I don't even want to think about max mode right now. I'm saving that for its own video. Okay, so now that we got the gameplay out of the way, let's talk about the story. In the Night 1 phone call, you get a message of someone talking to a group of other people, talking about wanting to kill the person in the office and putting a wanted poster of them in one of the cameras. How thoughtful, honestly, you know? Anyways, the Night 1 minigame reveals that Snooies, now hear me out on this, Snooies is not the name of a character in the game, but the building the game takes place in, and it absorbs other buildings. The Night 2 phone call doesn't really add anything new. It's just kind of the TikTok girl TTS, just telling you you're gonna die and you won't last very long or whatever. Night 2's minigame has you play as Rude as you watch Dor and XP go inside of the Snooies building and then you follow them. Night 3's phone call has a Donald Trump AI, like I'm not kidding when I say this, a Donald Trump AI voice talking to you, telling you about XP and just looking on the cameras more. There's really not much to say about this one either. The Night 3 minigame shows the Snooies building jumping continents. No, you did not mishear me. The building in the FNAF fan game jumps continents. Absolute cinema. In the Night 4 phone call, you get a person who is not the person from Night 1 telling you that they haven't seen you in days and that you should call back. In the Night 4 minigame, you play as the Snooie building again, absorbing another building. For a brief second, you can see a girl in the bottom left corner of the screen before it cuts to Night 5. This character's name is Sarah Vera Boring, which is the best name I've heard for a fan game character since Buck and Barry in Five Nights at Yoshi's. In the Night 5 phone call, it's the same person from Night 1 wondering why you still aren't dead yet. And while Night 5 doesn't have a minigame, it does have a pink slip showing Sarah was fired from her job that she didn't show up to. The Night 6 phone call has the same person from the last night not very happy with us, saying in the Night 6 minigame, you play as the hamster mentioned in the phone call and chew on the building's copper wire. You then cut to playing as Sarah, where you have to leave the building. After this, the building explodes with Dor, Rude, and XP all going sky high, showing the ending screen. Now, I am aware that there is a secret minigame for beating Night 7, but I haven't beaten max mode yet, so stay tuned for my next Snooies video when it comes to that. However, there's still other things to talk about, like the fact that when sometimes you go on the arcade camera, you get this guy. The camera system, which is a bee, by the way, literally stings you when the power runs out. And finally, the game over screen showing all of the main enemies of the game in a pool of money, implying the building put a bounty on you. Now, in most FNAF fan games, that'd be the end, but there's actually 2 more minigames I have not brought up yet. You get these minigames by clicking on any part of Dor or Rude that isn't their noses, because you just honk their noses if you click on them. Rude's minigame is a very simple catching ingredients minigame, followed by you baking a cake, and that's it for Rude's minigame. Dor's minigame is a simple slot machine. However, you have to score an absurd amount of points in order to win, so you're probably going to be there for a while. The last clickable thing on the menu that's important is the TV. Remember how I said it was important for you to beat the clicker game? Well, when you do beat the clicker game and you get the golden ugly corny, you get treated to, and quote, the ugly sensory corny ending, and it's the best thing I've ever seen ever. Now, with all that said, I'm sure you're all wondering where on earth to download this game. It doesn't appear to have a GameJolt or an itch.io page. Well, to answer your question, yes, it does have an itch.io page. It's just password protected and unlisted. So, where on earth do I get this password then, huh? Well, obviously, you get it from the Five Nights at Snooies website. Yes, an entire website dedicated to Five Nights at Snooies. Not only does it have the link to the original Five Nights at Snooies game, but it also has a link to a second game called Five Nights at Snooies Rampage. Here's some brief gameplay of that if you're wondering what that looks like.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh my goodness.
This is beautiful.
Dude. Game of the year right here.
This is dude. How much?
There's nothing on this.
I did it. You did it. Snooies Rampage has been Rampage. You did it. Joyous days. Fastest Snooies after it gets Rampage.
Also, this website mentions a third Five Nights at Snooies game, but it doesn't have a download link. It looks like it's some kind of 3D platformer game that's based on specifically XP and Sarah. Definitely gives me Teeny Toys vibes, honestly, if anyone knows what that series is. So yeah, with all that being said, I think I've talked about most, if not everything related to Five Nights at Snooey's. You know that saying some people say where it's not about the destination and it's about the journey? Well, personally with me in this game, I thought the destination and the journey were both incredibly interesting to go down. For a first fully coded game, I have to give it around a 6 out of 10. It's honestly not that bad for a first coding experience. Could there be things improved about it? Absolutely, but for what it is right now, it's definitely not a bad game, and I do recommend to anyone who wants to check it out to, well, check it out. Link is in the description to the Five Nights at Snooey's website. I want to give a shout out to Snooey for giving us the link to the game as well as a bunch of behind the scenes information on it to help me make this video, as this video would probably have been filled with a bunch of misinformation if they didn't step in, so thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed this kind of commentary styled video. I don't do these kind of videos very often, and I'd kind of like to do them more because they honestly are kind of fun to set up. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, y'all.